Yeah, I'm ready.
Alrighty. Alrighty.
This call is now being recorded.
Okay. Thanks a lot, folks, for tuning in once again. I think we're at episode 12 now, Stan. This one's going to be about coverage gaps in your home insurance policy. And this is the Home Insurance Advice Podcast once again. And I'm on property and consultant with Metro Public Adjustment. And I have two co-hosts today. I have not only Stan Mason, who's been a licensed public adjuster for the past 20 years, but also we have our special guest, Anthony Shirer. Am I saying your name right this time?
Yeah,
Shirer?
it rhymes with fire, so Shire.
Oh, okay, that's easy. Okay, Shirer. And he has been a veteran of Metro Public Adjustment as well as licensed public adjuster. And he's going to take the reins tonight with our topic. And we're going to talk about coverage gaps in your home insurance policy. And he's going to talk a little bit about, I guess, starting off, what is a coverage gap? Tony, we in the holders, property owners, and let them know, a little bit more. What is a coverage gap?
Yeah, a coverage gap. So when you go to buy insurance, you tend to think insurance is insurance is insurance. And when it comes to auto insurance, it's pretty close. And your health insurance packages, you got this gold, silver, and bronze. But home insurance is a different animal. And there are a lot of different areas in a home insurance policy that the insurance company can either write in more condition coverage and more exclusions to coverage than other policies. Endorsement can be added to policies to take away coverage. Homeowners can, have under limits on certain things. So it goes on, and at the end of the day, it ends up meaning less money when they have a claim or less coverage because of the way the policy is written or something that is in the policy, and they don't know it until they have a claim and they suffer financially, and that's why we're doing this podcast, right?
Definitely. What type of coverage gaps have you seen on a lot of policy holders, insurance policies?
The most common coverage gaps in a home insurance policy is the deductible. Most people think they have a normal deductible, and deductibles have been changing over the past few years. So a couple different things happen to deductibles. Number one, they've been changing to a percentage deductible. And most homeowners have no idea what that means or what it's a percentage of. And that you need to rebuild your home, coverage A, the big number in your policy. And if you have a 1% deductible and a $500,000 coverage A limit, well, you have a $5,000 deductible. But that's not the bad part. It gets worse. Because it's percentage of coverage A, or to rebuild your house every year because of inflation, J goes up every year. So your deductible being a percentage of coverage A, it will also go up every year. Now, after 5 or 10 years, can you imagine a homeowner finally has a claim and now they have this deductible that they had absolutely no idea was going up every year, let alone how big it was. We see separate deductibles. Like you'll have a normal deductible of $1,000 sometimes, and then you'll have a separate deductible for wind or hail, where it's once again typically a percentage and a high percentage. So what that does is it eliminates a lot of the opportunity to use your home insurance policy when you have wind or hail damage to your home, because some of these deductibles I've seen are more than the entire roof replacement cost. So it's not a good thing, and people have no idea until they have a claim and find out the hard way.
Wow.
Shall I go on?
So they don't know about these deductibles, the additional deductibles, until they file a claim?
Yeah, so nobody pays attention when they buy insurance. They're just like, yeah, yeah, what's my deductible? And the agent might say, your deductible is this, and they, I don't think they're misrepresenting or hiding it. I just think the homeowners don't understand these what these deductibles mean, because a lot of times they'll go to buy home insurance and the premium's too high. So they ask the agent, "What can you do?" And the agent's like, "Well, we can switch to this kind of a deductible. We can add a wind and hail deductible, which will be a little bit higher than your normal deductible." But they don't tell them. I don't think. Well, they don't look at the policy the same way we do. So they're not looking at it like, well, when you do have a claim, this is going to cost you a lot of money. They're looking at it as, hey, this is going to save you a lot of money on premium, and you're never going to have a claim anyway. So that kind of attitude really leads to coverage gaps that homeowners are, the agents like to say, or the adjusters like to say, well, this is the coverage your client bought. Well, no, this is the coverage our client was sold, because homeowners have no idea what they need. So you have this dynamic where, in an effort to save money on premium, agents are either offering or homeowners are asking for these things that are very detrimental when they have a claim. And then a lot of claims don't get put in because they have high deductibles, or they have, this, that, or the other thing in their policy to make it not worth it.
Hmm. So it probably wouldn't be worth it if they just call the insurance company regarding the damages, because we know they're probably going to either deny the claim. They're going to have a very small amount of compensation that they pay out. So is this the type of thing where the public adjuster should just be called first and intervene with working with the insurance company, negotiating with them, I'm guessing?
Yeah, well, that dynamic's never really going to happen. Most people are never call a public adjuster, no matter what we say or where. They call the said, well, you have this big deductible, it's probably not worth putting in a claim. They give them the song and dance. So if this happens to a homeowner, we can double check it, right? More money or it's free. Why wouldn't you? You suffered a loss, and if they owe you some money that they're not willing to part with, that's the beauty of what we can do, with our company. But most people don't even know that exists. So that's why we do these podcasts and do social media, right? So but that doesn't solve the coverage gap problem, right? Because even so, if we're involved, the coverage gap is still there. Now we have to deal with it. And of course, it's better to have us involved so we can get the most out of that claim for that homeowner, so that coverage gap is less painful, but it's still going to be painful because it's there.
He is to get it. He had to find out that it's there before something happens.
Yeah, and that's why we do the free policy reviews for homeowners, because they need somebody other than their agent looking at their policy to let them know, hey, listen, when you have a claim, this is going to hurt, and it's probably better to pay the $10 a month more to get rid of this coverage. So like there's more. Let me go on, because there's a huge list of coverage gaps. Back to the roof, there's a thing called the scheduled roof endorsement, where the roof is not covered for replacement cost, it's covered for actual cash value. There's functional replacement cost. I just saw three policies today. So this policy didn't have it, but it's functional replacement cost. And what that is you're getting Home Depot minimum. So instead of same, like, kind, and quality, imagine you have custom cabinets, and now you suffer a loss and you have functional replacement cost. They likely only owe you for the waswood cabinets, the ones at Home Depot, where the particle board, it used to be, wood, and then it was sawdust and they glued it together.
Oh yeah.
Right now it's a cabinet, right? I call it waswood. Um, so people have these things in their policy. They don't know it. I found recently a limit on water losses of $10,000. That's not your sewer and drain backup coverage. This is any water loss, which devastating for these homeowners, because they're going through. They're like, yeah, the insurance company said all they owe is 10 grand. I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. Let's dive in and see what else you're owed for, because this is it's insurmountable sometimes.
No.
Um, there are there are coverage gaps. Personal property, your contents. This is another very popular one. Take your house, flip it upside down. Everything that falls to the ceiling is your stuff. And you think if you have an insurance claim, you get new stuff if it's damaged. Well, most people don't have that coverage that gives you new stuff. The standard language is you're the actual cash value for your contents unless you bought personal property replacement cost. So you have to pay extra for this. Now your stuff's covered for replacement.
Oh, okay.
Now I can get into policy language. So there's a lot of popular companies. So one in particular, they changed the policy and they changed everybody's. And the switch, when they switched everybody, they said, "Hey, listen, we changed everything. If you're cool with that, don't worry about it. We already made the switch. You don't have to do anything." And nobody even knew they switched, but it came with 8 pages of coverage reductions and eliminations. And
Wow.
yeah, 8 pages, eight pages worth. So the policy language changed to make it unfair for the consumer. So there's duties after loss when a homeowner has a claim, and those duties after loss, it's pretty standardized language. Except State Farm, when it comes to the proof of loss, the ISO H03, the standardized form language says if the insurance company requests it, you have 60 days to submit a proof of loss. State Farm's policy, the new one, says you have 60 days to submit a proof of loss. And they are denying claims on day 61 because the homeowners, they have no idea they're even required to do this. And what do they say? Well, you should have read your policy. It's like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, it's devastating. Farmers, if they have access to plumbing, if they have to jackhammer into your foundation or slab, you're limited to $2,000 max for access to plumbing. 2 grand. That's it. Right? That language isn't in the other policies. It's not in the standardized, the ISO language. State Farm says we're only paying for access to plumbing at the specific point where the release happened. Right? So if you have to jackhammer the floor across the way because that's where the clog is, but the toilet, their language says you have to jackhammer that floor up, and everybody else's would. Farmers would limit you to $2,000. People have no idea. Code coverage is included in most everybody's insurance, except also ask you, do you want this? And I rarely see somebody buy it because it costs premium. So in an effort to save premium, they're not buying included with comparing against, and they have no idea until they have a claim, and now there's no code coverage, and we use that coverage a lot. Like that gets a lot of roofs covered for a little bit of damage. A lot of siding gets covered because of code issues. A lot of HVAC, a lot of like plumbing. Like there's a lot of code issues because a lot of old houses and things need to be brought up to code. If you don't have any money,
Oh, okay.
there's no money. There's no bucket of money in your policy, right? But homeowners have no idea until they have a claim. Too late.
Wow. So it sounds like the policy review is really a way to kind of get ahead on this
Yeah,
and find out what people are covered for.
yeah, as a homeowner, you definitely you have to have somebody other than your agent look at this for you because they look at it different. They're looking at it like you're never going to have a claim. And we know you're going to have a claim. Like every 5 or 10 years, homeowners have a claim. And it's financially devastating when the policy doesn't want to pay out. Right? It's not even there. It's not that the insurance company doesn't want to pay it. It's not there. It's not available. And there's nothing anybody like even a court of law is not going to get them to pay that.
Oh, That's
Yeah,
really interesting,
yeah,
Anthony.
mm, yeah. It's one of
It's great that you're sharing this kind of stuff because homeowners they really don't have a clue.
we'll
Uh,
we'll get this. So
okay.
I have a claim right now where this lady says I had to move out of my house because I couldn't go out. That's not where I reside anymore. So the definition of what in the definition section of the policy is a resident, and those got to jump through to be a defined named insured because it's not her primary residence. It's insanity. It's absolute, and these are real examples.
She's a resident.
Well, because I had to move away, so the definition of who's a named insured comes into question. Is she named insured because now she's having mail and everything delivered to this other place? She had everything forwarded. So
Oh
in
wow.
when life events happen, I mean, imagine how many people got moved out, and now you're not living there. It's not your primary residence, but you're the named insured on the house, and the wife and kids are still living there. Now there's a claim. Now there's no coverage. So you absolutely need a policy review because life events
Oh wow.
happen, and these are. It's just amazing how many people. That's why I don't want to put in a claim by yourself either, because not that you want to hide information, but you also don't want to incriminate yourself. So yeah,
Right.
it's incredibly detailed and yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I know people, they make a comment, say something to the insurance company, and they have no idea that they may,
Well, also
use.
I tell them, but they use language as exclusions. And then they ask homeowners, well, what do you think happened? How long do you think it's been leaking? Oh, did it get your home office? Like these are all trick questions because if you answer them wrong, it gives them a reason not pay your claim.
Wow.
That's
Oh, okay.
right. Everybody thinks it's easy. Yeah, just call the company. Good luck.
Mm, wow. Hey, Stan, do you have any stories you want to share about coverage gaps or?
Um, Not any that can come to mind. Usually, when somebody has a coverage gap, it limits our ability to help them. You to help, do these free policy reviews, and there's really nothing in for us other than the fact that we can then help them if they if they fix their coverage gaps. Then we're in a better situation to help them. Because, like Tony said, if it's not, if there's a coverage gap and you live with it, and nobody can help you if you don't have the right coverage. No one can help you.
Wow. Well, to me, that's definitely a way to promote the policy coverage review, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's probably
Just to make sure if you have a problem that we'll be able to help you.
yeah. We're it's a free service, and it's really it's we don't do regular advertising and marketing. So instead of spending thousands of dollars on TV ads, we spend our time with a homeowner and sit down and talk to them. And we might not be able to help them right then and there, but they're gonna know they have a resource, somebody who's licensed to help them. Somebody who represents them. And it's just for us, we end up getting along the way. You pay kind of look at it for the homeowners because if it happens to your grandma, you're gonna be so upset that you didn't sit down and talk to her for a few minutes about her policy. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's something that everybody needs, but they don't know. right? Because you can see all these commercials that, oh yeah, you're covered. It's all this feel good stuff, and the reality is it's wicked, right? It's a business.
Yeah, they have great commercials. They're really entertaining.
And they're the ones with the worst coverage. Like
Yeah.
I tell everybody, stay away from the popular companies, the ones you see on TV, ones that advertise on the internet. Like you don't want to be with them because you don't you're not using a broker who's going to shop a bunch of different companies and find a policy, like at least a starting point, finding a policy that fits you. One of the biggest coverage gaps is having these cut rate company policies because you're paying for inferior coverage. And I wouldn't want their policy for free. Like if somebody said, "Hey, you just won any of them, pick one of them." I don't want it. No, thank you. Right? It's not going to cover me right. It's not going to be when I have a claim. I'm going to have less, more conditions of coverage, more exclusions of coverage, more hoops to jump through, like for potential appraisal or legal. You know, more after loss, more strict. You know, um, frozen pipes. The normal language says you have a duty to maintain the heat in your house. If you don't, then the frozen pipe's not covered. They have a lot of data on their side, and I can only imagine that they said, "Well, what was the thermostat on?" Every frozen pipe claim, they wrote that down and said, "Hey, most people have it at 54, right?"
Yeah.
Oh, thermostat's not set enough, so we're not going to pay. It just gives them more opportunity to not pay a claim, and farmers doesn't cover roof leaks. So it's a wind required opening policy. It's different than every other policy. Even State Farm covers a roof leak. The farmers says that a shower pan. So you think a leaking shower pan would be an accidental discharge of your plumbing system, right? Covered loss, named peril. But farmer says, you know what? Shower pans, that's not part of the plumbing system. I'm going to write that out of the definition. So now leaky shower pan. When are you going to find that?
Yeah, the thing about it is nobody's reading these policies, and
Well, if you read them, how?
if you did read it, did you really understand?
Well, what do you?
What's going on,
But
or what
what?
you're covered for?
But you don't even know what to compare it to. Like you can read it, oh, I understand that, and you think that all policies say that, and they don't. So how would you ever know? The agents have no idea, no idea. Trust me, I fight with they on social media. They tell me how wrong I am, and I just keep proving. No, here's the language. I put a green screen behind me. Homeowners have no clue.
So now I'm wondering. So is there some sort of basic language for like certain policies, like HO3 or
Yes.
HO2? I mean,
Yes. So
but it seems like you don't really know what
well, no, I do. So
what your situation is.
yeah, so the insurance services office has standardized the forms, and you have the HO3 is the normal homeowners policy. So it's not the same. So that's why you want to use a broker because the broker is going to shop like 10 companies that have the same exact policy. Start comparing State Farm to Farmers to Allstate to Liberty Mutual to Progressive to Geico to Nationwide to Lemonade to Hippo. None of them are the same. None. So you don't know what you're getting. And these are the homeowners, they're buying just based on price. So, whatever's cheapest, man, it's not so cheap.
And Sandra, some of the coverage gaps are just things that we don't know exist. Like you don't know what you don't know. So you got a sump pump and you need a sump pump. If you have a sump pump, you need a sump pump endorsement. If you didn't know such a thing existed, you don't know what we don't know. It's one of the coverage gaps is not having things that you need. And kind of reminds me of a coverage gap situation I ran into. home had a finished basement. When I say finished basement, this thing probably was $250,000 at least. And he had 6. It was huge. He had 6 sump pumps. So he was said if you had groundwater, you had a flood basement, they'd take it all out. But during a storm, he lost power. All the sump pumps failed, and he had probably $100,000 worth of damage. Had he bought that $65, $70 a year endorsement, he'd have coverage. So instead of saying you're not getting a dime, you'd have had $100,000 to fix his house, fix his basement. So why wouldn't you buy that? I mean that's insane. I mean it's only $60-$70 a year. Why wouldn't you buy that? If you don't know it exists, you don't have that option. You don't know to buy it. You don't know you should do that. Okay? So sometimes we just don't know. We don't know.
So is that something like maybe the agent didn't inform him that he should have a sump pump endorsement, or
may not have asked the question, do you have a sump pump? May not know what, I mean, like Tony said, some of the agents, not the badmouth agents, but some of them just don't know. They do what they're told to do. They're told to sell this policy, so they sell that policy. A lot of them don't know what they're selling, don't understand don't know what they need.
Yeah, and nobody coverage, even if you don't have a sump pump, because it includes the sewer backup and drain backup. Yeah, so, but people don't know that, because the
wow. Yeah, that's kind of scary, because if you don't know you don't know what you should have, you're relying a lot on the agent to hopefully, give you what you need, but you don't really know that that's going to be the case.
well, you have a lot of people now just buying online too, so they're just clicking buttons. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just trying to get a cheap price, right? So there is no agent.
Okay. So you're just buying stuff blind based on the price.
It's not price.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, you're gonna see more and more policies, and you're gonna see how often, like, there's these coverage gaps. There's these unfair deductibles. There's missing coverages. There's they didn't buy personal property replacement cost, and they didn't buy the sewer and drain backup. They didn't buy the sump pump coverage. They don't have any jewelry coverage. They don't have any. They don't know that there's a limit for business equipment, things like that. Like they have no idea until they have a claim, and then they learn the hard way.
Wow. What's probably the most scary, the most crazy coverage gap scenario you've seen so far, Tony?
Yeah, grandma, who passed away a few years ago, is the named insured on the property to the kids. So that's devastating. Nobody ever changed the named insured on the policy. They just kept paying it. So that happens a lot. The other thing is, the innocent spouse used to be a thing, and that's gone now. Where your spouse gets mad at you and burns down the house, you used to be able to get half the money, and now you can't.
So your spouse breaks up with you, guys divorce, and they decide that they're going to burn down the house.
If they're still on the policy, if you're still on the policy, only if they're both on the policy.
Crazy stuff.